and I'm honored to serve as the Military and Veterans Affairs Manager and VA-10 Service Academy Coordinator for Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton. Today's presentations will offer a brief but thorough overview of the 4 service academies that require nomination and one that does not. But I'll let the academies go over that. Before we get started this morning, I'd like to introduce our host, the representative for Virginia's 10th Congressional District, Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Hello and welcome everyone to our 2022 Academy Day, one of my favorite things to do as a member of Congress. I'm Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton, and I represent Virginia's 10th District in the U.S. House of Representatives. I'm excited to kick off this Academy Day and share a few words about our remarkable academies and how grateful I am to each of you for thinking about pursuing this path of service. First, though, I'd like to thank all those who made our Academy Day possible, beginning with Bill Montgomery, our Service Academy Advisory Board Chair, who's with us today, as well as the entire Academy Board for the many, many hours of dedicated effort that they put into helping those interested in a nomination navigate this process and review our candidates. I'm also very grateful to the presenters from each of the academies for taking the time to be with us this morning. And they are Jamie Matternach and Jill Cheney from the U.S. Military Academy, West Point, Matt Levitt from the U.S. Naval Academy, Second Lieutenant Peter Dabrowski from the U.S. Air Force Academy, Lieutenant Commander Chuck Wheeler from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, and Lieutenant Rick Scott from the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. And last but not least, I want to shout out to Anthony Barnes, my tremendous Military and Veterans Affairs Manager, who organizes and runs Academy Days and our nominations process. He's a good person to be nice to. In just a few minutes, you're going to have a whole lot of information put in front of you about these different academies and the application and nomination process. It's a lot for sure, but these folks on the call today, as well as my team, are here to help you through it. The decision to seek out a position at one of our service academies is not an easy one to make, and you're going to have to put in a lot of work to get through the process. My job as your member of Congress is to select which young people to nominate, means entrusting them with representing our community at one of the most prestigious institutions of our nation. Those in uniform are called on to exemplify the best of the values that make us Americans. And I hope that you bear that in mind today and throughout the process. I also want you to recognize what an exciting opportunity this is. Serving in our armed forces is a commendable path to choose for your future that can unlock a world of options for you. You can go from here to a service in a full military career, or you can transition to the private sector, taking on the challenge of being an entrepreneur or a business owner. Or you can pursue the life of civilian public service, like working for a member of Congress to support other veterans once they've returned home, as Anthony from my team has done, or serving Congress yourself as Representative Elaine Luria from Virginia's 2nd District, a Naval Academy alumna and 20-plus year of Navy veteran, did. Some of our greatest American leaders have come out of the service academies, and I have no doubt you'll live up to the honorable example set by so many of you. You're the next generation of our leaders, and our country is going to soon rely on you to take on some of the greatest challenges we've seen in generations. I wish you the best of luck during this process, and thank you once again for your interest in serving our country. I'll now turn it over to our wonderful panel of presenters to share more about what it means to attend a U.S. Service Academy. Thank you so much. Take care and enjoy the process.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And to get started here, I'm going to turn it over to Commander Bill Montgomery, our Service Academy Board Chair.
Thank you, Anthony. I'll share my screen here. Okay, you should be seeing the slides. Good.
Good to go, sir.
So welcome, everybody. As Congresswoman said, thank you very much. This is an occasion for us to give you some of the information on the process that some of you are about to embark on. So thanks for sharing some of your time on Saturday with us here. This is a look inside the nomination process from the perspective of the 10th District of Virginia. And I'll mention every district, every member of Congress can run their own process as they see fit. We think this is a best of breed process and one that will get the best results both for the candidates and for the academies. As I mentioned, I'm the chair of the Service Academy Advisory Board for the 10th District. My background, I'm a retired Navy commander, class of 73 from the Naval Academy. I'm the chairman of this District 10 Academy Nomination Board. My background, I was a naval aviator, flew the E-2 Hawkeye off of aircraft carriers with various overseas tours in Japan and Belgium. Did several tours in the acquisition program management world around Washington, D.C. Since then, I've been a consultant providing support to multiple DoD programs and contractors. I'm also skipper of the local squadron of the Association of Naval Aviation, and run a couple of nonprofits, including one that works in South Africa. This is not to tell you what a great guy I am. My point is that this is a typically successful, almost middle of the road sort of career that any of you could aspire to from an attendance at the Academy. I have many classmates who've gone on to be flag and general officers, captains of industry, CEOs, astronauts, and government servants as well. So all those are opportunities that are open to you with the path you're considering embarking on. So the purpose of this brief is to give you a view of what our objectives are for prospective candidates from inside the process here, and give you some points of emphasis and highlight some ways you can prepare yourself for this process. Now, as I mentioned, this reflects Virginia 10's nomination process. Each district's process can be different. They can literally flip a coin if they want to, or give nominations out as political patronage. That's not what we do here. This is a pretty rigorous process to make sure you know what you're getting into and the service academies get what they're looking for. The context here is really the whole national military service mindset. As all of you are undoubtedly aware by now, up till the time of the our withdrawal from Afghanistan last year, our nation had been at war for the longest period in its history. And as has become increasingly clear, we're in a period of transition from the global war on terror to a return to great power competition, not only in our confrontations with Russia and over Ukraine, but the pivot to the Pacific and issues with China and the Far East. All that means that deployment is a reality for anybody in the service these days. For that reason, the academies are not destinations. They're a means to an end to a career of service. Sacrifice and dedication are the norms in those careers. Your commission is not just a means of job security. It's a reflection of a call to service. It has to be genuine and selfless on your part. And when you look at the oath of office, which is one of the first things you should look at that you take as you enter the military, it's a serious commitment. And as Senator John McCain liked to phrase it, it's not about just life and death. It's bigger than that. So as the overview, each member of Congress has a quota of 5 cadets or midshipmen maximum at each academy at any one time. That's for the Military Academy, Naval Academy, and Air Force Academy. There is no quota for the Merchant Marine Academy, which we'll mention as well. Our target is to fill 1 or 2 of those slots per academy each year, so that we're not filling them all in 1 year and then have no vacancies for the next several years. And for that reason, we're a very highly competitive district. We have a huge number of qualified people for a limited number of slots. We receive anywhere from 100 to 120 applications each year by September for those 3 to 5 total vacancies. We nominate, for that reason, the top 10 candidates for each of our vacancies. We have that many qualified people in most years. So the first 1 or 2 get those slots, then our qualified alternates go on the national waiting list. And we often get unused slots from other districts. If nobody's applying to the Naval Academy this year from the 3rd District of Idaho, we often pick those up because we have so many qualified people here. The Service Academy Advisory Board is our screening board for those 4 federal service academies that require congressional nominations. No nominations needed for the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. You apply directly to them, and they have their own admission process for that. Our board is composed of about 50 volunteers. We serve at the request of the Congresswoman, and we conduct our screening interviews from October to December, sometimes of each year. Sometimes we get through a little quicker. We also serve as the liaison to the deans of admissions for each of the academies, and we try to coach and guide you as the candidates in your process to get there. As a note, redistricting takes place next year. It takes place for this year's election, so the districts will change as in Congress next year. So this is the last year for District 10 is currently comprised. It'll be migrating to the west a bit next year, and parts of it will be in the new District 11. But the process will probably remain substantially the same for District 10, and it's a good representation of any rigorous process. This is an overview of how last year's nominations went. So out of 106 applications for 3 nomination slots, well, we had about 73 that went on to actual interviews, so a little less than 70%. Of those, a little less than half actually got our nomination slots. We had 10 each for the Navy and Marine slots, and a little less for Air Force and Merchant Marine. Of those, a little over half actually got offers from the academies. But in addition to that, we got 14 of those additional slots from other sources, such as senatorial nominations, presidential, or other districts that were available. So we're highly successful here. We get well over our fair share just because we have the people that can do it, that they're good candidates. So inside the nomination process, I'll give you a little bit of the board process and how we do our governance, a little bit about pre-board preparation, what you should think about, and it's kind of a reality check on the degrees of selection separation that can make the difference for you. The board is composed of a host and 3 members for each of the volunteer board. For every board, we try to have a cross-branch representation of experience, Navy or Marine or Merchant Marine, and Army and Air Force, and a diversity of experiences and demographics, different warfare specialties and backgrounds, and different walks of life that people come from. Our goal is to really get our eyes on the individual candidate and understand you beyond the paper record that you've provided us in your application, and figure out, are you really compatible with the Academy, and is it what's right for you? It's basically a competency-based, around 40-minute interview methodology, where we have a series of both qualitative and quantitative questions. We have the quantitative stuff that we've seen, your numbers, your grades, your score tests, and things like that. And then we have some really more qualitative tests or questions that kind of test how you would react to a certain situation, whether you understand what you're getting into. Have you done the research, and do you have a plan B? Those sorts of things. That gives us some consistency. We have an algorithm that puts all that together, and we achieve consensus on the board. It's not just minority and majority opinions. We really take the time to understand where you are and agree on what's best. Our key dates: the application is now will be available as of tomorrow, I guess, or Monday. What's 1st of May, whatever day it is. They're due the 1st of October. Do not be late in getting your application in. Then from October through at least the middle of November and possibly into December, we'll conduct our interviews. We typically do 3 interviews of 3 people each on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. And then by early January, hopefully a little earlier, we will notify the candidates whether they've been accepted or not. And again, that note, this is Virginia 10's process. Each district's process may be different. So for pre-board preparation, going into this interview, first of all, do your homework. Start by surfing the web, reading articles about the different academies. And if you know any, absolutely talk to graduates, alumni of the academies, other active service members who've served in those areas, or current midshipmen or cadets. Be familiar with the mission of those academies, the honor code or honor concept, as you'll note the term it shows there for the Naval Academy. What are the basic requirements for admission? And what's the service obligation you get out of this? It's not just a school you go to. There's actual obligations for various types of service after you get out. Familiarize yourself with the various service specialties, from aviation to infantry to engineering. What things are available there? What are the academic majors programs they have to support that? What's this plebe year, freshman year experience all about? Are you prepared for the kind of the rigors that they throw at you there? Do you understand what they're asking you to do? We will probe your understanding of those things and see if you've really taken the interest to understand these things yourself. We recommend you take both the SAT and ACT. Yes, those are required for the academies and for our process. Why do we recommend both? There are differences in the way adults learn and test. Unless you score well up in the 700s or 800s on your SATs, you may do better on the ACT just because the way it's structured. We will take the best of your results on either of those. Make sure you have community service and school activities to show us, and not just those activities, but leadership roles in those. Apply for all eligible nominations. In addition to the District 10 nomination, you can apply to both senators of Virginia. You can apply for a presidential nomination if your family is a legacy career military. The vice president gets 5 slots as well, just like any other senator. So as the president of the Senate, so you can apply to her, or she's got a whole lot of people applying to her. Make sure you're in shape, work out, start running. It's estimated that almost 3/4 of Americans in your demographic do not meet the physical standards for the academy. So if you're not already an athlete, start working on that. Conduct practice interviews. Practice will give you confidence in your presence there. That confidence will translate into poise in front of us, and that gives you credibility in the interview. The attire for our interviews is business attire, or at least business casual. Make sure you pay attention to that, because first impressions do count with us like anybody else. And above all else, be on time. So what are we looking for? the degrees of separation, the types of things that will distinguish you in our interviews. Are you poised, prepared, and do you reflect a passion for service? What sort of context can you give us and a face to the paper record? What really drives you in your military essay? Why are you interested in and committed to the service? Do you have a demonstrated excellence in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math courses? Because that's going to be important no matter what your major is. I was a foreign affairs major, which meant I only needed to take 3 semesters of calculus, 6 semesters of engineering, etc. And do you have quality coursework reflected in your resume? Do you have AP courses or international baccalaureate, those kinds of things? Have you taken the advantage to attend any of the Academy summer seminars or leadership classes or sports camps or even a candidate weekend where you can shadow a midshipman or a cadet for a couple of days? Those give you a lot of insight into the place. Do you have other options? Have you pursued, are you thinking about officer candidate school if you don't get into the academy? Are you pursuing ROTC applications? Would you be willing to go to a prep school if you need that for a year of preparation to get your test scores up or whatever? Provide recommendation letters that reflect your traits as a leader. It's not important that you're sending the letter from, a 3-star SEAL admiral. Does it speak to your character and your leadership? Is it something that we want to hear about? And above all, is there emerging evidence of your leadership and results that you've achieved as a team captain or head of a club or whatever? Rigors of time management. You're going to be tasked with grades, sports activities, military duties, and everything else. Do you understand how to prioritize and do that? Have you passed the candidate physical assessment? Have you demonstrated already that you're in shape to go to the academy? And finally, have you given us the ask for your nomination? Have you really told us at the end? We'll give you a chance to tell us anything we haven't asked or tell us anything we should know that we already don't know about you. And have you really communicated to us why you want the nomination? Bottom line, our area is truly, our candidates are truly outstanding, but the area is extremely competitive, and we're looking for those diamonds in the rough as leaders. Final perspective, this process is not about who you know. It's not about where you're from. We don't care about your socioeconomic station or your political affiliation. This is an absolutely nonpartisan process. It is about you chasing your dream and showing us you have a selfless desire to serve your country in this vein. So the journey needs to be about your passion to serve. So you need to take ownership of the process. If you're just doing it for your parents, you're on the wrong track. But don't create any self-limitations. Don't tell yourself you can't do this. Embrace the process, pursue the things we've given you here, and take actions to keep that desire to serve in focus. So thanks very much for your interest and attention. And either now or at the end, I'll take any of your questions. Back to you, Anthony.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that for that thorough introduction to our Service Academy Advisory Board. We're going to move on next to the United States Military Academy. Representing the United States Military Academy at West Point, we have Jamison Matternach and Jill Cheney. On to you.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning. My name is Jamison Matternach. I am a West Point class of 98 graduate. I was a military intelligence officer in the Army, and I have the privilege this morning of talking to you with my classmate, Jill, and I'll let her introduce herself really quickly.
Thanks, Jamie. So as Jamie alluded, I too am a classmate. So I'm also a class of 1998. I spent my time in the military as an adjutant general officer. So that's doing personnel or administrative work. And I just recently retired here. So I did the entire career through to retirement and served principally overseas. So spent the majority of my time in Europe and abroad.
So we're going to spend a few minutes talking to you about a couple of things to keep in mind as you're considering whether West Point is the right path for you, specifically about what to expect at West Point, but also what to expect during the nomination process. And Justin or Anthony, if you wouldn't mind pushing the slides and specifically bringing up slide 17. So the candidate evaluation for West Point, 60% is based on your high school academic performance, 30% on leadership, and then 10% on fitness. And so within this congressional district, it's very similar. We're looking at your leadership experience and potential, how well-rounded you are, whether you've demonstrated that you can manage a rigorous schedule with a lot of responsibility. Are you mentally tough and physically fit? And do you understand the military career that lies ahead of you? Specifically, I'd say most importantly is, how do you differentiate yourself from other candidates? As Bill mentioned, this is an extremely competitive district. So we're looking for you to tell us what makes you different, what makes you more competitive than your peers in this specific, in all three of those areas. A fourth to a third of incoming students to West Point come from college, prep school, or their prior service. And many are applicants who have applied previously. And so if attending West Point is your goal, please keep that in mind that, if you're not admitted the first time around, if you don't receive a nomination the first time around, don't give up. There are a significant number of students who are able to have success in being admitted the next year. With all commissioning sources, West Point has an 8-year obligation post-graduation, with 5 of those years being active duty and then 3 being inactive reserves. Aviation branch, if that's something you're interested in, does have a longer obligation. And then also prior to graduation, cadets now have the ability to increase their active duty service obligation for a better chance at receiving the branch they're most interested in, or for their first post. So there's a little bit more flexibility now if you're willing to add additional years of service. If you could flip to the next slide, please, Justin. Also, I want to encourage you to seek all potential avenues for nomination, service-connected or congressional, for your commissioning into the military. I encourage you to look at Army ROTC. I have 2 children who are currently ROTC cadets, one at Texas A&M and one at Virginia Tech, and they're very happy with their experience there. But also make sure that you talk to students who have attended the academy from your high school or relatives, and talk to also students who have gone the ROTC path and ask questions about their experience. And I'm going to turn it over to Jill now, who's going to talk a little bit about academic life at West Point. And Justin, you can take the slides down now.
Thanks so much, Jamie. And I do echo all of the options that do exist as ways in, and that there's no single one right way, and there's no one specific timeline. I was in college before I actually became a cadet. So, and I applied to all sorts of them. So yeah, there's no one size fits all. So it's a great adventure. And I'm excited that you all are on this. But I also want to echo everything that you've been hearing up front. Is that when it comes to the academies, what we expect of the cadets is that you will be future officers who are self-starting, multifaceted, with the ability to solve complex and ambiguous problems and be able to prioritize work, whether that be your own or others. And just as it starts with the admission process, with the different areas that Jamie mentioned, and all the other academies, I'm sure will highlight this as well. This aligns with the whole academy experience while you're there for your 4 years. So from an academic perspective, you will be evaluated academically, athletically, and militarily, or by leadership, all your entire time that you're there. So academically, there's over 30 majors, minors as well. And I speak from not only having been a cadet, I will caveat this, I also taught there. So I see it from the perspective of both sides of how of what are possibilities there. When you arrive, you don't have to declare. When I'm thinking about from a college perspective, then you do that usually your second year. And there's also minors, as I mentioned. And as I think Mr. Montgomery mentioned, everyone does engineering. So if you don't pick engineering as a major, then you will have to do it as a minor or a track. So everyone will experience the analytic problem solving aspects and will graduate with a Bachelor's of Science. There are no Bachelor's of Arts from the program, from the university. I saw some of the questions, so I just wanted to highlight about medical school. So when you branch, as Jamie alluded to, there is operational branches that everyone classically thinks of as, the infantry and the armor. There is also the support branches, as I did personnel, or Jamie did military intelligence. There is also medical as well. So there's the medical service corps. If you're aiming to try to go in to be a doctor, that is a specific thing in and of itself. And it's not, you don't pick a branch. Instead, what you would want to be doing is focusing on a pre-med program, which would be a life science major, where that postures you to be able to take an MCAT towards the end of your time. And then you would be competing for medical doctor slots that they will be providing much later into your academic career. Of note is today is Projects Day for West Point, for the Military Academy. So I welcome you to go out and look at a lot of the things that are out there. This is their culminating event for their seniors. It's kind of their capstone projects where they convey and present all the things they've been doing on their senior project that they've been working on throughout this past year. Now that gets your academic piece. Athletically, irrespective of what you do, you will always be doing athletics. If you are on an intercollegiate team, then you will do it that way. If you're not on an intercollegiate team, then you will be doing intramurals. And this applies to every semester that you're there. Leadership also will always be a part of your time there, and it will evolve. So your positions will change by semester and by year. So as you start out, you will have less responsibility, and it will gradually evolve as you proceed through those 4 years. So again, all three facets in equal proportions, as Jamie alluded to in her portion of the briefing. And I will pause there so the other academies can chime in, and you can hear about their adventures as well.
Thanks, Jill. I'm just going to close by encouraging everybody to look at the West Point Admissions Facebook page. It has a lot of really great information, briefings, questions that other students have asked. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, please go visit that. Try to attend a candidate overnight session or visit in person. And remember to start applying early and pay attention to the deadlines. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie and Jill. I really appreciate that. Moving on to the next academy, we're going to go to the United States Naval Academy. Representing the United States Naval Academy, we have Phil Windust. Phil?
Good morning, everyone. Let's see, let me get this screen shared. Let's see here. It doesn't seem to be sharing. Should have probably tested this earlier, my bad. So I have one of the windows open. How do I choose which one it is that I want to share?
If you when you go to share screen, the window, and just choose the window that has the slides on it that you'd like.
It's not popping up. I have PowerPoint open, but that PowerPoint slide is not showing up when it says choose what to share.
Okay, Phil, I'll go ahead and just open it, and I will do the screen share for you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You'll just have to guide me through the.
You bet.
Bear with me 1 second.
Awesome. Could you go to presentation mode there? Should be in the bottom part of the window on the right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome.
Should be in presentation mode now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Apologize for that delay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Phil Windust. I'm a Blue and Gold officer for the Naval Academy. I'm also a graduate from the class of 1994. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Blue and Gold Officer Program, our job is to be a liaison between candidates who are applying and the admissions office at the Naval Academy. There's a Blue and Gold Officer that is assigned to every high school, and one of our jobs is also to conduct an interview with every candidate who is applying, which is a required part of the application. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the next slide. Maybe is the next slide up?
It is. Sometimes there's a second delay.
Okay, my bad. So just a quick introduction. The Naval Academy is the university of the Navy. It's the Navy's university. Actually, what I'll probably do is go ahead and pull up my slides so I can make sure I know which one we're on. Candidates who choose to attend and graduate will graduate with a Bachelor of Science degree, no matter what your major. Even if you are a humanities and social sciences major, you will have a Bachelor of Science degree upon graduation in order to, primarily as a result of the technical courses which are required. Upon graduation, you will also be commissioned as an officer in the Navy or Marine Corps. While the Marine Corps is a separate service, there is no separate service academy for the Marine Corps. The Navy and Marine Corps are together part of what is called the Naval Forces and operate under the combined umbrella of the Department of the Navy. So if your desire is to be an officer in the Marine Corps, the Naval Academy is your service academy. Upon graduation, you will have at least a 5-year commitment. In some cases, it could be more, especially if you wanted to be a pilot. So one of the things that you're going to hear a lot of common themes across all of the service academies this morning. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to just kind of differentiate a little bit about how the Naval Academies are different. So next slide, please. One of the best ways to do that is to talk a little bit about the things that you can do when you upon graduation. So one of the things, the bread and butter of the Navy, obviously, is being on a ship. You could be a surface warfare officer assigned to one of the ships stationed around the world. Next slide, please. You could also be a serve on a submarine as a submarine warfare officer. The training involved with that after graduation is significant around the areas of nuclear power and operation of a nuclear reactor, which is extremely challenging. Next slide, please. You could be a pilot, either a pilot or a naval flight officer flying fixed-wing aircraft or rotary aircraft as well. You could also, next slide, be a SEAL. The Navy refers to this community as special warfare. And lastly, next slide, you could choose to be an officer in the Marine Corps. You could be a ground officer, or you could also be a pilot, enter into Marine Corps aviation as well. Next slide, please. So just now get back to the Naval Academy. The Naval Academy's campus is called the Yard. It is it's located just about an hour and a half away in Annapolis, give or take, depending on where you're starting your journey in Northern Virginia. It's located on the Severn River, and just outside the front gate is the great town of Annapolis. Next slide, please. There are about 24 majors, all divided into 3 different categories of engineering and weapons, math and science, or humanities and social sciences. Again, even if you choose to be an English, history, or political science major, you're going to be you're going to graduate with a Bachelor of Science degree because of the calculus, chemistry, physics, electrical engineering, control systems engineering, and cybersecurity courses, which are all required no matter what your major. There are also several minors that are available. Next slide, please. Hopefully this one shows the college classroom. Some of you may have spent some time on the U.S. News rankings website, may have been curious as to why the Naval Academy shows up in the category of a liberal arts college. That is due primarily to the small class sizes that you'll be in, which enable extremely close contact with faculty. You're going to be taught by the professors and instructors, and not a teacher's assistant. And specifically at the Naval Academy, the ratio of civilian professors and instructors to military faculty is approximately even. Next slide, please. Midshipman daily schedule is very structured, even though this chart shows that it starts at 6:30 a.m. It's going to start way before then if you're going to be prepared for the day. There's 4 class periods before lunch, 2 after lunch, a required athletic period, dinner, and finally getting around to getting homework and studying done about 7 or 8 p.m. until you finish, which could be quite late. One of the things I want to highlight here is that athletic period after classes that is required. Similar to what you heard from West Point, everyone must participate in a sport. Next slide, please. It doesn't necessarily need to be a varsity sport, but there are quite a few varsity sport opportunities available. If not varsity, there are a significant number of club and intramural sports available as well. Next slide, please, on the steps for admission. So how do we get in? The first step is you're going to complete a preliminary application, or if you actually applied for summer seminar already, that will serve as your preliminary application. After the information in that preliminary application is reviewed, you may be designated a candidate, at which point then you have the opportunity to complete the full online application. You're then going to also at the same time apply for a nomination from all the sources from which you're available, which is why we're here today. And that's going to be Congresswoman Wexton, as well as both senators from Virginia, the vice president, and in some cases a presidential nomination if at least one of your parents is a career or retired member of the military. You're going to complete a medical exam, take the candidate fitness assessment, and then ultimately conduct an interview with the blue and gold officer that is assigned to you at your high school. The candidate fitness assessment consists of the basketball throw, pull-ups, 40-yard shuttle run, sit-ups, push-ups, and a 1-mile run. On the right side of the chart, you'll see the folks who can actually administer that CFA. The majority of candidates will have either a PE teacher or a team coach actually do the CFA, primarily because they're going to have access to the equipment that's necessary to conduct the test. Next slide, please. On medical qualifications, the medical exam is going to be conducted by the Department of Defense Medical Examination Review Board. For candidates from the Naval Academy, you will not be contacted to schedule that exam, that medical exam, until you have completed 100% of your online application, the application that you're going to submit to the admissions office. The results of that exam are then reported back to you and to the Office of Admissions. The Naval Academy Admissions Office will then work with the Department of the Navy's Medical Department to determine whether, if there's any disqualifying factors, if there's going to be a waiver offered. If you're interested in what the specific disqualifying factors are for Navy service, that can be found in this document called the Manual of the Medical Department of the Navy, specifically Chapter 15 of that document, and that's available publicly. Next slide, please. The admissions process. I believe this is a cascading chart. So it's going to go from the bottom to the top. I'm going to start with the preliminary application. And next, if you are designated an official candidate, then if you could, I'm not sure if you're running the slides, if you could just get the whole slide to come up, you're going to basically be looking to be qualified on what we call 3 different dimensions. You're going to start with the admissions board, and that's going to be the information in your full online application. Your essay, transcripts, ACT, SAT scores, teacher recommendations in your math and English courses. You're also going to be attempting to be physically qualified, and that's going to be through your candidate fitness assessment. You're also being medically qualified through the Department of Defense Medical Examination Review Board, and all concurrently you are attempting to obtain a nomination from one of the sources from which you are eligible. If you are qualified on 3 different dimensions and obtain a nomination, then you are able to enter a pool where you can then compete for an offer or appointment from the Naval Academy. And ultimately, it will hopefully end with a successful offer of appointment. Next slide. So just want to end with a couple of slides on some advice and some parting thoughts. Be sure to highlight your math and science background. As mentioned before, there are a significant number of technical courses which are required no matter what your major is. And the Naval Academy Admissions Office is going to be looking to see what your preparation is in those science and math backgrounds. There is no minimum GPA, but certainly strive to position yourself within the top 20% of your class. Take the SAT and ACT early and often. The Naval Academy super scores those tests, which means that they will take the best score in your math and verbal sections, even if they're in different sittings. AP Honors International Baccalaureate classes are strongly encouraged because they show that you're seeking out a challenge. And of course, what you do outside the classroom can be just as important as what you're doing in the classroom. That doesn't mean go out and join every single club under the sun, It means participate in a manageable number of athletic and non-athletic extracurricular activities, and certainly find yourself into a leadership position in at least one or more of those activities. Also, the workload and time commitment at the Naval Academy is heavy from day one. So the Naval Academy Admissions Office is going to want to see how well you are prepared to tackle that challenge. So stress your time management skills in high school. Next slide. Also, think really hard about why you want to attend the Naval Academy. As you've done in your research, I'm sure you know there are multiple pathways to get to become an officer in the Navy or Marine Corps. Your desire to serve as a leader in the Navy or Marine Corps is commendable, but the Naval Academy is not the only way to get there. Do your research, find out why the Naval Academy is the best pathway for you, and communicate that. Just because you know that doesn't mean that the admissions office is going to know that, or your interviewer when you do your blue and gold officer interview is going to know that. Communicate that through your application, your personal statement, and also during your interview with the blue and gold officer. Also, try to get a sense of what life is like there at the Naval Academy. One of the last things that the admissions office wants to do is offer a spot to somebody who has no idea what they're getting into. I'm pretty lucky that that Annapolis is only about an hour and a half away. Get out there, take a tour. They have touristy tours. There's also a tour that is conducted by the Candidate Guidance Office. You can also sign up to participate in one of the sports camps if you have time this summer. A lot of summer schedules may be already packed, but if you have the time, you get out there, you do a sports camp. You stay in Bancroft Hall during a sports camp. It's a great idea to get an idea of what life is like in the hall. You don't have to be a recruited athlete at all. And if you're lucky enough to get into summer seminar or be invited on a candidate visit weekend, that's great as well. And then lastly, complete your application as soon as possible. As soon as you're designated a candidate, find out who your blue and gold officer is, contact that individual, and get the process started, trying to ask questions, telling them that you're underway on the application. Get your application done as soon as possible. The admissions office will start reviewing full online applications that are completed as early as late August. So in some cases, that's going to mean maybe reaching out to your math and English teachers before everyone disappears for the summer to start getting your recommendation letters going. Lastly, next slide. Follow USNA on social media. That's all for me. Back to Justin for the next presenter.
Thank you, Phil, for the presentation for the United States Naval Academy. Moving on, our next presenter representing the United States Air Force Academy is Second Lieutenant Peter Dabrowski. Lieutenant Dabrowski.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Barnes, and thank you, Representative Wexton, for bringing this event together. I hope my slides are coming up. I think they just did. Perfect. That's awesome. So, oh wow, apparently my camo is working and you can't see my body. I'm joining you guys from Howard University over here in Washington, D.C., and I thank you guys all for attending. And let's talk a little bit about the Air Force Academy. First, who the heck am I? This floating head that you see. I'm Second Lieutenant Peter Dabrowski. I grew up in Queens, New York, and I just graduated from the Air Force Academy in May with the class of 2021. So I'm as fresh as they make him out of the Academy. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about the Academy experience and to tell you what life is like in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We're 7,258 feet above sea level, and it's a totally different environment. We're far, far above West Point and Annapolis, and we do live life at a different altitude. It's a beautiful campus. Colorado Springs is beautiful as well. We don't make you live and breathe the Air Force. We want you to explore Colorado, whether that be going skiing every weekend and going up to Vail or Breckenridge, these world-class resorts, or if your thing is locking yourself in your room and just watching Netflix, do that as well. But we give you the flexibility, because flexibility is the key to air power. We want you to grow to be the best officer you can. And the only way to do that is by allowing you to grow to be the best individual you can as well. Here's just some numbers about the Air Force Academy. We're the number 3 public college. Our aerospace and aeronautical engineering and astronautical engineering programs are number 3 in the country. We're number 5 for undergraduate engineering. So if engineering is your thing, this is a great place to go. And even if it's not your thing, you're still going to have a lot of opportunities to get engineering education, but also liberal arts education. We have a big core curriculum, and we'll talk talk about that in a short few. But things that make us unique. We are the Air Force Academy, so we work a lot in the air and both in the air and space, because not only are we the Air Force Academy, we're also producing officers for the Space Force, and we'll talk about those opportunities in a second here. But whether that be the jump program, where you get to jump out of airplanes 5 times, which I got to do, is a fantastic experience. We're the only program in the country where your first jump is on your own and you are your canopy commander. So it's a fantastic thing to try out. And it's not mandatory, it's an optional program, of course. And all these programs are optional, and you can take advantage of them or not take advantage of them. Another program we have is a powered flight program, where you get to fly an actual aircraft and go up with an Air Force officer and see what flying is like, see if it's for you. We have a satellite program as well. We actually have 3 operational satellites that were built by cadets in tandem with our corporate partners. And we launched those satellites, and cadets are talking with these satellites on a daily basis from our Space Operations Center that we have on the Academy grounds, which is a pretty neat thing. We also have a drone racing team and a drone operations squadron where they simulate what a remotely piloted aircraft squadron looks like in the Air Force, and they get to see what that environment is like, see if that's for them. And we also have a glider program, which is our most popular aviation program. Gliders are aircrafts without engines, and it's a crazy thing to be up in a glider and doing awesome maneuvers, pulling a bunch of G's and flying right over the academy, right over your dorm room, and then going back to class a couple hours later. It's a fantastic thing to take advantage of. But that's what makes us unique amongst the service academies, all these aviation-minded programs. And of course, just like the other service academies, we have a whole person development concept. You're going to be challenged academically, athletically, and militarily. I like to call this the triple threat, because you don't only have a GPA, you're also going to have an APA, an athletic performance average, and an MPA, a military performance average. And all of those go into your OPA, your overall performance average. And these are necessary categories in order to create you into a leader of character, and to make sure that you can lead in the United States Air Force, the United States Space Force. We're just going to dive really quickly into all of those. Academically, here are our majors and minors. We have a big core curriculum. So even though if you're like me, you're a political science major, you're still going to be dipping your toes into aeronautical engineering, astronautical engineering, computer science. You're going to be doing everything. And it doesn't matter which major you choose. You're always going to be jumping into some of those other fields. But some special ones, space warfighting is a really interesting one that just came out. That's one of our new minors, and it's a fantastic way to learn about what we've been doing in space warfare historically and what we're going to be doing in the future. That's actually one of our top secret classes, where a lot of the information you learn in that class will be done in a secure environment, and you won't even be able to talk about what you learned outside of that class unless you are in a different secure environment. So that's an awesome opportunity that is offered by the United States Air Force Academy. Moving along, athletics is a big thing at the Air Force Academy. Every cadet is an athlete. Either you're going to be on one of our D1 NCAA teams. We participate in the Mountain West Conference, and Army and Navy play for second, of course. Either you're one of those teams or you're on one of our club teams. I myself was on a club team. I was a mountain biker. Being in Colorado and mountain biking, it was a fantastic choice on my part, and I loved it. I got to explore a lot, and I got to represent the Academy at different conferences all around Colorado and Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, wherever and anywhere that they wanted to send me. And you can also be in an intramural team, which is just squadrons compete with each other, and they keep that physical fitness in mind, because being physically fit is important to be mentally fit. And that's why all the academies harp on that. And of course, moving on to the military side of things, you're going to be going to basic training. You're going to learn how the military works and how being a cadet at the Air Force Academy works. You're going to be doing a lot of parades. You're going to be using our campus and exploring it with land navigation. And of course, we have flyovers. We are the Air Force Academy. You're going to have helicopters like the one behind my floating head landing on the Terrazzo, our main plaza. And you're going to be able to pet the jet and go inside, talk to the air crew, and see what that life is like. And of course, we have senior leaders who come and give us their leadership stories and give us any lessons that we need in order to be officers. Just recently, we had Elon Musk visit the Air Force Academy just 3 weeks ago, and he was able to spend the whole day with cadets and talk about some of the things that he learned, because we don't just bring military leaders to the academy, we also bring corporate leaders, people who are masters of industry, and in his case, the richest person in the world who's done so much for this country, but also for himself, of course. And moving along, during our summer, we have so many different opportunities. You can do a foreign exchange program, which is an opportunity to go for a semester to a different country, to their Air Force Academy. I had some friends who went to the Brazilian Air Force Academy in Sao Paulo, and they loved it. They had a great time clubbing every week and getting to immerse themselves into the Brazilian culture as well as the Brazilian military and experience what that is like. In Spain, Germany, United Kingdom, Australia, those are all popular places where we send our cadets. Language immersion and cultural immersion programs do that as well. You get to go to different countries, but only for like a 3 or 6 week period. Service Academy exchange programs and ROTC exchange programs are also great. Another semester exchange program. You can go hang out in prison at West Point or play with the squids in Annapolis. It's a way that you get to see what those service cultures are like, and be able to immerse yourself into that joint environment and see what it will be like in the future to operate with them and to get the mission of the United States done, whatever that may be. And summer research is also a great opportunity. It's a fantastic way to go work either at a governmental partner or industry partner. Like you got my friend Dave there working at Chick-fil-A. He was an economics major, so he was able to do some fancy economics for Chick-fil-A for a couple of weeks over the summer. But we go to Lockheed Martin if you're engineering focused, the White House, the United States Congress, the Pentagon. We do a lot of things depending on what your major is. Each department gives you different summer research opportunities. And Ops Air Force is a pretty cool program. You have the opportunity to go to the real Air Force base and sort of just hang out with the different officers and see what job is for you, and see which career path you're going to be taking. And I myself went to Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, and I got to hang out with the F-22 pilots, see if that was for me, the C-17 pilots, the Intel operators, and it was a fantastic program to see how the real Air Force works, not how the Academy made the Air Force out to be. And moving along, over the summer, you also have a lot of opportunities to be a leader, whether that's leading survival training and navigation training over at the Academy grounds. That's leading summer seminar, which is a program open to juniors where you apply right before December of your junior the first semester of your junior year. There we go. And then you can come to the Academy for a week and experience the Academy experience. And that's led by cadets as well. And basic cadet training is even led by cadets. You're going to be taught by an upper class cadet how to be a cadet and a military member. It's a fantastic experience. And of course, if you're like me and you're scared of classes like electrical and computer engineering, you're going to take that over the summer. And that's what I did. And a lot of people do summer classes as well to try to alleviate their load during the actual regular school semesters. And afterwards, because we're not just an academic program, we're career programs here. Wow, the fonts are a little messed up, but that's okay. We have 35 different career fields available for you as an officer. Half our graduates every year go on to become Air Force pilots. So if you're gung-ho about being a pilot, Air Force Academy is one of your surest ways to make sure you get a pilot slot. 10% of our graduates go straight into the Space Force, and 10% go straight to graduate school as well. I have two friends who are one's a Rhodes Scholar, one's a Marshall Scholar. They're currently at Oxford doing their degrees out there. I got a friend who's at the University of Dayton, Ohio, going to law school. I have 5 friends who are at USIS, which is in Bethesda, Maryland, and they're becoming doctors and they're going to med school. And I got a friend who's going to Georgetown, another one's an American, to get their public policy degrees. So, you have a lot of opportunities to go to graduate school right away, right after the academy. And also as an officer, you'll have a lot of opportunities to get a degree later in your career as well. But Air Force career opportunity-wise, here they are. Of course, those on the left, they have a longer than 5-year commitment because training to be a pilot takes a while. Or training to be a doctor or a lawyer takes a while. So you're going to have to serve a little bit more so the Air Force can get its return on investment on you. But if you're like me and you go into the intelligence side of things, or you're interested in aircraft maintenance, nuclear missile operations, anything like that, that's just a 5-year commitment with no specific degree. But if you want to be a chemist for the Air Force, you need a chemistry degree. Like that's just what that right side is talking about. But those are your Air Force career opportunities. And of course, we can't forget about our guardians with the Space Force. The Space Force is a new branch. They're doing exciting things. The space has always been a military domain ever since we had the first space race happen with the USSR. And space operator is a very unique career field with the Space Force. Space operators, what they do is they're operating a constellation of satellites at one time, whether that be the GPS satellite system, which civilians get to use in order to navigate, and we use to make sure we can put warheads on foreheads. And they're adding to the mission in a very specific way in order to give us the technical assets we need to perform our jobs. And space operators are cool. They're also handling the military communications network, the nuclear missile defense satellite system as well. There's a plethora of systems that they operate, and it's a pretty interesting place to go into. And of course, Air Force Academy, like the other service academies, you have no tuition costs, no room and board costs. You have a guaranteed career as an officer afterwards, monthly stipend, and you get that medical and dental coverage. And in terms of us, our academically competitive standards, this is what we see on average high school GPA 3.85, average SAT, ACT, all those numbers are there. But the other parts of the application are basically the same in terms of what we look at in terms of leadership and character, medical process, and even the physical fitness assessment. carries over. It's the same thing that you do for the other service academies, you do for us as well. And of course, this getting a nomination is also another requirement, and you guys already know about that, so I'm not going to touch on that. And how do you get started? So if you're a junior right now, our application is actually open right now. You go to academymissions.com, you fill out that pre-candidate questionnaire. Over the summer, the rest of the application will open up for you, and you can actually be done with your application before your senior year even starts. So then when you're looking at civilian institutions and playing around with Naviance and all of that, you get to do that at a different time and have some sort of peace of mind that your academy application, at least academy specific, is done. And then you can also focus on your congressional application. And that's it for me. Here's my information. If you ever need to contact me, have any questions about the Air Force Academy or about the application, that's where you should go to. And that's all for me. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Dabrowski. I appreciate the briefing on the United States Air Force Academy. It was fantastic information. Next up, we're going to move on to what I like to call the hidden gem, the United States Merchant Marine Academy. We have representing the United States Merchant Marine Academy, we have Lieutenant Commander Chuck Wheeler. Sir?
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Congresswoman Wexton for providing this opportunity. I'm not going to put up any slides. I'm going to try to get you back on schedule rather than go over a lot of the same things. All 5 of the service academies are basically looking for the same kind of individual. Those with leadership potential. You don't have to be a 1600 on your SAT to go here, but you do have to be willing to serve your country in one manner, shape, or another. So I'm going to go over just a couple of the differences. We're about the same size as the Coast Guard Academy, about 1,000 students. They happen to be our arch rival in everything that we do. The students love to compete against them, and they love even more to beat them. We're about 20 miles east of New York City, and by that I mean Manhattan portion of New York City. We're on the North Shore of Long Island on what used to be the William Chrysler Estate. It's a very small campus, 82 acres. But it sits right on Long Island Sound, which is great for a school entirely focused on water. Our application process will begin tomorrow for the next class, the class of 2027. It will run all the way through February 1st of next year. As some of the other academies have already mentioned, getting your application in early pays dividends in a couple of ways. It gets you into the medical side of the house earlier, which can be the longest part of your application process. We also do rolling admissions. So if you get your application in early and you happen to be a top tier candidate, it's conceivable that by the end of the summer or the early portion of the fall, you could get a conditional offer. And basically at that point, it's probably conditioned on receiving an appointment if you've already, a nomination if you've not already done so, and successfully completing high school. All we need to send you to the doctors to schedule your appointments is your transcript through the 11th grade and some qualifying test scores. So get those in early and we can get you in the medical side of the house early. We're Division III in sports as opposed to the other big 3 there, the DoD schools. They're Division I, we're Division III. Athletic participation is your prerogative when you come here. We don't make you participate in either varsity sports or intramurals. We do have a lot of intramural programs that you can if you want to, but you're not made to. Our NDOC, we call it NDOC, is about 15 days long compared to the duration of the other schools. And so I also want to concentrate on a couple of other different things. 2/3 of our graduates every year, and that's a historical number that's gone back about 20 years, choose to go into the civilian job market. Any job that's maritime related. Could be working in a harbor, could be working for a maritime insurance company, could be working on a ship as an engineer or a deck officer. 2/3 go that route, primarily because there's more self-determination on your part. If you want to work in San Diego, you apply for a job for a maritime company based out of San Diego. You want to live in Miami, you want to live in Seattle, you want to live in New York, you're going to determine. I spent 32 years with the Air Force, and I think they sent me someplace I wanted to go once. The rest of the time, I went where they needed me. So choice is a big deal. If you choose to go active duty, that's also an option. You can pick any branch of the service when you graduate here, and it's a direct commission, just as if you graduated from one of the DoD service academies. So we have liaisons with every branch of the service. You negotiate out your job, and you're commissioned about 30 minutes before graduation. You wear your uniform to graduation, and then you go to your next base of training. We also have a very important component here that's been here since the school's inception in the early 1940s. It's called Sea Year. Basically, it's split into two sections, and it gives you 10 months at sea. One's about 3 months long, one's about 7 months long, where you get experience being an engineer or a bridge officer on various types of ships, ranging from Navy aircraft carriers to oil tankers to cargo ships to tugboats, you name it. They try to get you a variety of exposure. You also will earn, and our seniors right now are about to start, a 3.5-day exam to earn a master's Coast Guard license, which says that you are qualified to work on any size ship that exists or any horsepower ship that exists. And for those who go on the civilian route, that's a big feather in their cap, because the company doesn't have to spend anything to bring you up to speed on those 700, 800, 1,200 foot ships. A lot of people from some of the other private and state maritime academies graduate with restrictions on their Coast Guard license. There's no restrictions on our Coast Guard license. It is a requirement for graduation, and so they're all preparing to take it in about 10 days. Another big difference is the nominations. They've already gone over how the DoD schools do it and how Congresswoman Wexton's office does it. The big difference between us is every congressperson and every senator in the entire country gets 10 nominations to the Merchant Marine Academy every year. There's no restriction on how many they could have here. In theory, Congresswoman Wexton could have 30, 35 people here at any given time if she nominated 10 every year and all of them got in. So we don't have those restrictions. Another big difference is congresspeople and senators can nominate out of district. Well, senators have the whole state anyway, but for example, Congresswoman Wexton's office could nominate somebody that had applied for a nomination and they lived in Roanoke, Virginia, even though they're well out of their district. So it gives ample opportunity to get a nomination out of your state. So that's a big difference. Basically, those are the things that we want to let people know. I want to leave you with one example. Now, this is not what every graduate's going to do, but we had a young man that helped us in admissions last year. He graduated last June. He arranged for escorts, midshipman escorts, and he made videos, also went to some academy days. He graduated June 15th last year. On June 30th, at 45 minutes after entering his name into the Maritime Workers Union computer, 45 minutes, mind you, he was hired by Myers, the largest container ship company in the world, to be a bridge officer. They signed him up for 5 months at $24,000 a month. That's not $24,000 for the 5 months. That's $24,000 a month. After 5 months, he had $125,000 less his taxes. I asked him what he's going to do. He says, I'm going to take 3 months off, and then I'm going to go do it again. So in 15 months, he'll make $250,000, 21 years old, no college debt, and living the life of Riley. Not everybody's going to do that, but it makes many of us, maybe some on the panel here, wonder, what we were doing, what we were thinking about 30 or 35 years ago. So that's all I got. We have a website where all your regional representatives, I happen to be the one for Virginia. So please get in touch, start your applications early, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lieutenant Commander Wheeler. I really appreciate the briefing on the United States Merchant Marine Academy. Our final academy today, represented by Lieutenant Rick Scott, is the United States Coast Guard Academy. Lieutenant Scott. Sir, it doesn't appear as though your camera's coming on. Are you able to hear us and communicate with us?
Spinning looks like it's having a loading problem.
Okay, we'll give Lieutenant Scott a second. In the meantime, what I'd like to do quickly is move into a question, part of our question and answer session. This is going to be a common question this year, so I want to address it right outright. So obviously, if you live in Virginia, you know that the redistricting process has occurred. The new district lines have been drawn and will go into effect next year. However, for any candidates applying this year for Academy nominations, you will apply in your current district, meaning if you are currently, as of today, a constituent of Virginia's 10th Congressional District, you will apply to our office or to the Senate offices this year as you normally would. Really, the only difference is we will be putting our nominations in by December 31st this year, so before the changeover has occurred. But we will still be tracking. We will still be taking responsibility for the nominations, and the admissions will count against our numbers. And this is the last year. Then next year, we'll move on to the current configuration of the district. So in short, if you live in Frederick, Clark, or Northern Fairfax counties this year, you will apply to our district, District 10. So that's something that I've gotten a few questions on. I just wanted to absolutely clarify. And while we're waiting to see if Lieutenant Scott can get on, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask Lieutenant Colonel Garrett, who's with us today. He's our U.S. Air Force Academy chair for our board, but also serves as our de facto associate chair for the Service Academy Advisory Board. Anything you can put forward, sir, that would be helpful, or anything that you would like to let everyone know?
Hey, Anthony, thank you for the note there, and also want to thank Congresswoman Wexton for this opportunity as well. As Anthony mentioned, I'm Ron Garrett, Air Force Academy retired, class of '89. Currently, I work at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Did a 20-year career at the Air Force after the Air Force Academy, did 20 years in acquisition, program management, budget, satellite operations, etc. The one thing I would like to bring up, and I do get some questions every now and then, is the aspect of students who are homeschooled who are interested in service academies. The Air Force Academy, if you go to the webpage, it has a distinct page outlining what homeschoolers should be looking into in terms of applying to the Air Force Academy. I would imagine it's the same with the Military Academy in Annapolis as well. Homeschoolers are very competitive because a homeschooler may not have the same type of academic coursework or detailed coursework that you would see at a normal public or private high school. There's still some application and coursework requirements that the Academy is looking for in homeschool students. When it comes to extracurricular activities as well, leadership opportunities, whether you're working as a shift lead at Starbucks, for example, or you're a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, advancing up to the highest ranks there. Those extracurricular activities, those sports activities as well, those opportunities don't change as compared to the student who is coming through the process as either a private school or a public school, high school student. So I wanted to highlight that aspect. It does work. As a matter of fact, I've got a complete example. I'm part of the Northern Virginia Homeschool Athletic Association. I'm winding up my term as the athletic director. Our president, his son graduated from the Air Force Academy. I believe it was 2-3 years ago. He was homeschooled completely through high school, graduated from the Air Force Academy. He ended up graduating from undergraduate pilot training, and then decided he wanted to fly helicopters. So he graduated from undergraduate helicopter training at Fort Rucker, Alabama. And he is currently serving as a rescue helicopter pilot at Kirtland Air Force Base. So that's just one example, and I'm sure there are many other examples out there. So I thought I'd highlight that aspect of the admissions process for the Air Force Academy. If anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me, and thank you for your time. And we look forward to seeing some of the best and brightest coming out of Virginia 10.
Hey, Ron, thanks for that. I was just going to add that that applies not only to the Academy admissions process, but our nomination process as well. We take all that into account.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Looks like we've got Lieutenant Scott. Good to go?
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me, sir?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Hey, so I apologize to everyone. Looks like I'm having some trouble with the laptop, but I'm coming live from the cell phone, so hopefully this is coming through all right for everybody. Hey, good morning. My name is Lieutenant Rick Scott. I'm the Mid-Atlantic Admissions Officer for the United States Coast Guard Academy. So I usually have a little presentation I show, but today I'll just be you'll just get stuck to my face today, and I'll try to go through what I've got. I know I'm going up last year, so I'll try to keep it pretty short. I like to tell people at the end of the day, if you're looking at a service academy option, first off, congratulations. You're embarking on, I think, one of the most noble paths for your collegiate career that you can. Obviously a great benefit to you, but you're going to be doing something great for your country. The question is going to come down to not even so much what academy do you want to attend, because I think, as you've seen today, at the end of the day, your experience at a lot of those schools are going to be very similar. Obviously some differences, but at the end of the day, you're marching to class, you're wearing a uniform, and it's not a bad deal as well in terms of tuition. The big thing you need to ask yourself is, what service do you want to be a part of upon graduation? And that's really the question I think you should all be thinking about, this next year. So real quick, a little bit about myself. I'm a Mid-Atlantic Admissions Officer for the Academy, originally from Boston, Massachusetts. I graduated the Academy in 2017 with a degree in government and law. I served my first 4 years in the Coast Guard afloat on two different at-sea assets. One was a 270-foot ship out of Boston, Massachusetts. And then I recently came off as the executive officer, or the second in command, of a patrol boat down in Key West, Florida. I've had the chance to do about every mission the Coast Guard does, with the exception of ice breaking. I hope not to have to do that, because I have to do a little bit of it in my driveway in the wintertime up here in Connecticut, and that's enough for me. So, enough about myself. Again, what I say is you need to learn about the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is obviously one of the now 6, military branches. We've always been the smallest, but I guess we'll start duking that one out with the Space Force. We're a humanitarian force. So while all the other branches are part of the Department of Defense, the Coast Guard falls under the Department of Homeland Security. So that affords us some very unique statutory authorities to do missions that, the other branches can't necessarily do without, getting into the realm of breaking international law, or without, infringing on the rights of our own citizens. And that's really coming into those at-sea boardings that we're able to do. It's a really unique authority, and something that we take pride in doing with professionalism and expertise each and every day. At the end of the day, though, like I said, humanitarian mission. So the Coast Guard's the fundamental reason that we exist as a service is to get out there and to save lives, to preserve the safety of life at sea, whether it's for our own citizens or those of the international maritime community. If that's a mission you think you can get behind, which I hope it is, then the Coast Guard Academy is definitely a place for you to get started with that mission. So what does the Academy look like? That the best way to experience that is to come visit us in person up in New London, Connecticut. It's a very small campus. If you come up, please let me know. I'll be happy to show you around if it's not during a formal tour. What I can tell you from here is, like the Merchant Marine Academy, we're very small, just about 1,000 cadets enrolled in total. We represent all 50 states and 20 different countries through our international cadet program. One thing that's a little different about the Coast Guard Academy is, other service academies, as well as other top-ranked engineering schools, is we're 40% female represented, as well as 35% underrepresented minorities. We obviously think that it's very important that we're reflecting the diverse community that the United States is, because that's the community that our officers are serving. So it starts with that representation right at the Academy. Now, you can look up all the rankings online. I won't spend any time going through them. I promise we're a top-ranked school. You can check it out on US Newsweek or Forbes, wherever you like to get your numbers from. But like the other academies, tuition free, you learn that stipend when you're here, 100% job placement after, whether you like it or not, because you're going to owe that 5 years of service commitment upon graduation. Another difference with the Coast Guard Academy, with our officers, is some of the other service academies, is our retention rate at that 5-year mark. We're very proud that 85% of our officers choose to stay within the Coast Guard at that 5-year mark and either go on to serve another few years or potentially a 20-year career and beyond. I think that speaks to the career satisfaction that our graduates have, as well as the benefits and lifestyle that they're having within the Coast Guard. So we're focusing on 3 main things, while reviewing your application, as well as while you're at the Academy. Big difference, and I'll cover it towards the end, with our application process is, and while I appreciate Congresswoman Wexton for having us today, we do not require nor participate in the congressional nomination process. But with that, it's a very normal college process application, and I'll cover that at the end. But three main things we're focusing there: academics, athletics, and leadership. So our academics, they're STEM centric. We focus on those STEM majors. Everybody's graduating with a bachelor's of science, but a professional focus too. We are a maritime school, just like Kings Point. No matter what you major in, you are going to get your training in nautical science and in the maritime realm, and you will graduate with a 100-ton mariner's license. Not the unlimited like Kings Point, but definitely something to get you started. And if you do choose that afloat path like myself, you can continue to up that license and hopefully one day make that $24,000 a month if you choose to get out into the civilian realm. For the academics, we have 9 different majors. Primarily, they're all going to be in the engineering realm. If you're not feeling the engineering, that's fine. You can study management or government like myself, or marine environmental science, and operations research, computer analysis. All the other majors are going to be all the different sides of engineering. Our newest major is our cyber systems major. Everybody, no matter what you study, you're going to graduate with that bachelor's of science degree. A third kind of big takeaway, a little difference with the Coast Guard Academy: no matter what you major in at the Academy, it has no impact on what your career is going to be in the Coast Guard. You do not choose a career specialty upon graduation, and you're never really locked into just one operational or non-operational specialty. If you're a mechanical engineer, you can go be a pilot, or you can go be an attaché very early on in your career. As a government major, you can end up being an engineer on the ship. It really doesn't matter. You can kind of, be diverse in the amount of career opportunities you have. The Coast Guard is small, so that means that our officers need to be generalists and become experts in multiple different career fields. So after that academic side, leadership is paramount. We want to see that you're a leader in your community and, leader on the field, a leader in your school, and we're going to continue to be that leader of character at the Coast Guard Academy. So that day one, when you graduate, with no extra schooling or training, you're ready to go to your first ship. Most of our graduates, about 80%, do go to ships for their first assignment. So you're ready day one to take charge there, to lead a division of upwards of 20 to 30 sailors and do your main function on that ship, which is, again, that's either going to be driving the ship or down in the engineering plant fixing what people like I break on there. Now, that last component, the physical component. So we want to see that you're, doing something in high school. If you're not a varsity athlete, that's fine. We just want to see that you're physically fit. We're going to measure that, on our physical fitness exam. All the academies have their CFAs, their PFEs, whatever they call it, but we're gonna assess you on your physical fitness. At the Academy, we're NCAA Division III, so you'll have the opportunity to play a varsity sport. If you're not playing a varsity sport at the Academy, that's fine as well. We do require you to be involved with some sort of, athletic venture at least 2 out of 3 seasons that you're there. If you are a mountain biker, like Second Lieutenant Brasky was talking about, that's fine. You can do that here and get your credit. I was a club ice hockey player. Whatever you want to do to stay physically fit, that can count as your credit. So academy life, one thing, obviously during the day at school, you're going to be very regimented. You're going to be told what to do, where to go, what to be wearing when you get there, like at all the academies. But you do absolutely get to have your own, social life outside of class, whether that's, in the afternoons or on the weekend. A great, asset to us is our location, being centrally located in southern central New England. So you're 2 hours up to Boston, you're 2 hours or 10 hours to New York City, depending if you're going to drive on 95. But you definitely have all that stuff pretty close by. You're 5 minutes from the beach, about an hour from the mountains. About the favorite time of our cadets is the summers. You get the chance to go out to the operational fleet and get a little taste of what you're going to do. Every summer is a little different. You can definitely learn about that more on our website. But the whole point is to kind of see what those career paths are in the Coast Guard. Speaking of the career paths, 3 main categories that you're going to be involved with, whether that's maritime safety, maritime security, or maritime stewardship. That maritime safety, that's our bread and butter, right? Search and rescue. It's saving people when they're in distress at sea, as well as the prevention side, trying to prevent those scenarios from even happening. Maritime security is probably what we're in the news a lot for, especially down in the Florida and southeastern United States. That's the port security, the drug interdiction, the counter-migrant interdiction. That's a lot of the stuff I've been pursuing the past couple of years when I was afloat. And then finally, maritime stewardship, the living marine resources, environmental protection. Again, preventing things from happening, but then responding to things when they do. Within the Coast Guard, you can be on the operational side of this. You can be out there on the water. You can be in the command center, planning and helping the air assets and ship assets respond to all this. Or you can be on the policy side, working in DC, working, with different congressmen and senators to, get the policy set for this. You really, throughout your career, you have all those opportunities. Now, I mentioned, aviation a little bit. So if aviation is what you want to do, about 20% of each of our classes will graduate and go straight to flight school. So those opportunities are absolutely there. The Coast Guard, actually, of all the branches of the military, we have the highest percentage of our officers as pilots than any other branch. Now, what I will say is we definitely have the least amount of airframes available. But if you're interested in flying, a few of our different fixed-wing air assets or two different kind of helicopters with the mission of usually saving lives, then the Coast Guard's absolutely the place to do it. I'll finish up real quick here with the application process. Pretty straightforward. It's all online. If you haven't already, highly encourage you to make what we call a Bears Den account. That's you can get that link through our website. But that Bears Den account is where you're eventually going to apply from. And it's also, gives us your information so we can invite you to programs up at the Academy as well as in your area. Application is very straightforward. You're going to have some essays. You're going to have some recommendations. You're going to do that physical fitness exam as well as your Dod Run, which I know you've already learned about today. The one hint I'll give you for the application, if it says optional, it is not really optional, so please do it. Our application opens up on July 15th, so not that far away. Early action is due October 15th. Regular admission is due January 15th, and you'll get your decisions about a couple months after the deadline for each of those sessions. For our swabs that are reporting in this summer, they'll be joining us June 27th. So not that far and starting their 4-year journey. And if you're a rising senior now, I look forward to welcoming you into the Coast Guard if you receive that appointment at a similar time next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Scott. I appreciate that. All right. That completes our presentations for today. I'd like to jump in to some of our questions and answers. We've had some questions asked throughout the program here, so I'm going to go ahead and present them to the board. Board members, please feel free to answer as you see fit. So the first question I received here is, does the DoD run all of the academies?
Yeah, I can take that. That's a no. The DoD runs U.S. Naval Academy, U.S. Military Academy, U.S. Air Force Academy. Merchant Marine is run by Department of Transportation, and Coast Guard by Department of Homeland Security, correct?
Perfect. Thank you. Second question, I guess, will be directed towards us, Bill. Do we communicate with the other congressional offices in Virginia? I can handle that from the Senate side, or so we do.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do. We communicate with both Senator Warner and Senator Kane's office, and we compare, nominations to ensure that we're not duplicating. But what this should show you is the importance of applying to all of your available nomination avenues. We do communicate. However, we will sometimes work out so that we can get the maximum number of our folks nominated and get the maximum number of our folks appointed in. So, Bill, anything on that? Okay.
Sorry, I lost my name. No, nothing to add. That's perfect.
Perfect. Okay. Can I apply to more than one academy?
I'll take that. Certainly you can. However, for our nomination process in Virginia 10, we ask that you only apply to a single academy for us, with an exception. If your first or second academy choice is Merchant Marine, you can apply to 2, because we have so much higher quotas for Merchant Marine. But if it's Army, Navy, or Air Force, we ask that you only apply to one of those for our nomination.
Okay. Our next question here is, how many, and you'll have to forgive me here, this is live on Facebook. How many candidates got nominations in District 10 for the United States Air Force Academy? And how many candidates got appointed for the class of 2026?
That was in one of my slides, if I can pull it back up here. Hang on a second. Take me just a minute to get back to it.
Sure.
One more thing I got to do here. Okay, you should be seeing that again.
Yes.
Okay, so for last year's round of appointments, Air Force, we had one slot open. Out of the applications we received, 18 people took interviews, of which 7 received nominations directly from us. All but one of those received an offer from the Academy, but there were an additional 7 that got picked up through other means, either senatorial or presidential appointments, or just other districts that the Academy picked up alternates for us.
Perfect. Thank you. Just to mention on that, we also had one person pick up the Falcon Scholarship.
Oh, right.
Would any of our Air Force folks be able to expand on what the Falcon Scholarship is a little bit?
Sure, I'll jump right in. So the Falcon Scholarship is one of our preparatory school programs. A lot of people apply to the Academy at once, and sometimes we can't accept everyone who has applied, or they're not academically or athletically at the position we need them to be in order to succeed at the Academy. So we offer them the opportunity to go to our Air Force Academy Preparatory School, which is in Colorado Springs, or to our Falcon Scholar Foundation program. That's founded by our Association of Graduates, and you go to a regular institution, typically some military affiliated institution, maybe like Norwich or something like that, and you get an extra year basically to prepare for the Academy. And the turnover rates for the Air Force Academy Preparatory School is 80% of the people go to that program and end up becoming cadets. And for the Falcon Foundation program, 97% of the people go to that program and end up being cadets their next year. So it's if you're offered that slot, it's basically a way for you to get prepared for the Academy. And it's by no means is it like a demeaning thing or anything. We want to make sure you succeed, and we want to make sure that the taxpayers get their return on investment so that you do end up graduating as an officer and commissioning in the future.
And Anthony, if I could jump in on that as well.
Please.
I'm an Air Force Academy Prep School graduate as well. And so I can attest to the fact that that program provided me even more of a stronger foundation to be successful, to graduate successfully from the Air Force Academy after my year at the prep school. It was, essentially a year of heavy math, science, English, leadership, athletic opportunities, and preparatory events. We had our own military program as well, similar to what cadets at the Academy receive. And so by no means is going to the prep school, any of the prep schools, some people might see that as a slight, as the lieutenant mentioned. It's not at all. I mean, many of my classmates have been prep school graduates in one form or another, and have gone on to be successfully members of the armed forces. So, Bible.
The current director of admissions for Academy Admissions was a prep school graduate as well. So you can definitely get pretty far in your Air Force career still. It's just a way to give you a leg up over everyone else.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. And while we're on the subject of prep schools, if we don't mind, so we've discussed the Air Force Academy, could we go to each academy and just give the number of prep schools that there are for that individual academy, or what that looks like for that individual academy? So let's start out with the Coast Guard Academy.
Hey, morning, everybody. And actually, great topic for me, because one thing I didn't mention is I'll be stepping out of the role as the Mid-Atlantic Admissions Officer. So no fear, everybody who has an account with us, you'll be communicated with soon who's taking over for me. I'm moving over, and I'm taking over the Coast Guard Prep School program. So this is my new bread and butter. So the Coast Guard Academy does use 3 long-time schools. You are actually starting a 4th school this year. So the 3 schools we've used for a while is Georgia Military College down in Milledgeville, Georgia, Marion Military Institute in Marion, Alabama. We send some cadets to the Naval Preparatory School and work with the Navy there up in Newport, Rhode Island. And then this year we're starting a pilot program where we're focusing on engineering and cybersecurity classes with the University of Massachusetts in Boston. So as was just hit, in my humble opinion, and is a product of the prep school program, I think it's a golden ticket to any of the academies, especially the Coast Guard. It's an incredible way to get you jumpstart into the service, get a year under your belt academically and militarily, be that much more prepared when you do enter your academy, no matter which one it is.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's jump over to the Merchant Marine Academy.
We currently use 2 schools. We use Marion in Alabama and New Mexico Military Institute. And of those that go, and it varies year to year, but of those that do go, probably about a 90% come to the Merchant Marine Academy the following year.
Fantastic. United States Naval Academy.
Yes, we also have a preparatory program. It's consisted of 2 different programs, actually. The first is the Naval Academy Preparatory School, which is in Newport, Rhode Island. Then we also have the Naval Academy Foundation Program, which is a scholarship program for some of the civilian preparatory schools around the country as well. Thank you.
Excellent. And finally, United States Military Academy.
Right, so we have USMAPS, which is co-located at West Point, is the official prep school. Also, we other academies have AOG-sponsored scholarships to New Mexico Military Institute and Marion as well. So all of those opportunities are through the traditional West Point application process.
Fantastic. Thank you. So that puts us at the end of our Q&A session. Do we have any parting notes for our candidates here from any of the members of the board?
I'll just thank everybody again for giving us your time today, and please reach out with any other questions you may have after the fact.
All right, hearing none, I'm going to.
Can I make one more?
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much for, please.
One quick one from the Merchant Marine Academy. I think one of your board members,
absolutely.
I think one of your board members mentioned it earlier, but we appreciate any of the congressional offices, and obviously yours does, that will consider a second nomination to the Merchant Marine Academy, in addition to if they were seeking one to one of the big 3, the DoD schools. And please let your constituents or your applicants know that if they were not to get into their first choice, West Point, Annapolis, or what's that other one? I'm just kidding. Then they can come to the Merchant Marine Academy, and they will graduate just as if they had from that academy. So it is a backdoor way for them to get their end result. So we appreciate Congresswoman Wexton providing that service.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I echo that sentiment. It is something that we have we've pushed for the last few years, particularly of those that aren't 100% committed to a particular academy. Look at the Merchant Marine Academy as an alternate and as a secondary choice. There's no harm in checking that box and getting that look. So again, I appreciate everything. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share a screen again. This will be our my contact information. If you have questions, moving forward, please do not hesitate to reach out, and I will answer them as best I can. I will also be able to put you in contact with the correct person if I'm not the right one to answer it. So here we go. Let's try this again. There we go. Again, just some basic information on here. Applications will open on May 1st. You'll be able to find those on our website, wexton.house.gov/services, under the tab Academy Nominations. This year, we will accept email submissions as well as mail and in-person. There will be specific instructions on the website. The application deadline is October 1st. You've got my email and my phone number. So if you have any questions, please feel free. I appreciate the time of everyone in our group today. I appreciate all of your efforts, and I look forward to speaking with all of you this year.